As the worst performer in my company, my boss mysteriously started treating me with unusual kindness. Not only did he shower me with endless money, but he even offered me his beautiful secretary, all because I acquired a Kuman spirit that turned my life into something like a cheat code. However, the paranormal events that followed filled me with terror. My life became completely entangled with the vengeful spirits from the spirit tablet. That year, I failed at work and was deceived into joining a pyramid scheme by my roommate. I posted my story online, where netizens mockingly called me an unlucky wretch. One kind-hearted netizen suggested I get a Kuman spirit for better luck. Apparently, many celebrities rely on these spirits for their overnight success. Could these spirit tablets really be so magical? Could they truly change one's destiny? Having lost all hope in life, I grabbed onto this last straw and found a spirit tablet seller online. The seller introduced various types like Kuman, Vengeful, Nine-tailed fox, etc., saying the more expensive ones were more powerful. Finally, I spent my last cent, 000 yuan on a Kuman, secretly hoping it would really work. They said, with this, you never lose at gambling, and I eagerly awaited its arrival. When it finally came, the sight of it sent chills down my spine. Inside was a strange little girl, crouching in disgusting brownish-yellow liquid. The poor craftsmanship made me feel scammed, and it even had a serial number. I immediately contacted the seller about the mysterious contents. He explained it contained a spirit, children's ashes, and corpse oil, requiring specific worship rituals. The ritual required burning yellow paper with my birth date and dropping 2 drops of blood. The blood binding would complete the connection with the Kuman. Though nervous about letting the spirit control my destiny, what could be scarier than being penniless? The seller emphasized one crucial rule: half of all gambling winnings must be burned as offering before the tablet. Following the rituals that night filled me with unease. The next day, I rushed to gamble and won big, as if cheating in one game. I scored 4 consecutive special hands. Sweating like a cheater, I kept winning for days. The spirit tablet was clearly working. I dutifully burned half my winnings before the tablet each time. Those days were incredible. I felt my life was finally turning around. I continued gambling, and one day my luck was extraordinary. I cleaned out all my fellow players, but I left too late. And when I left the gambling den, I realized I'd made a terrible mistake. It was past midnight. On the way home, I hurriedly burned all my winnings as an offering to the tablet. Begging for forgiveness, I went to bed very late that night, and thankfully nothing happened the next day. However, over the next 2 days, my luck took a sharp turn. I started losing at gambling, giving back all my winnings plus another 1,000. Dejected, I returned home and saw an orange cat meowing and lingering at my door. As soon as I opened the door, it ran away as if it had seen a ghost. Late that night, I was awakened by scratching sounds from under my bed. At first, I thought it was mice, but the noises grew louder, turning into terrifying creaking sounds. One scratch, then another. It sounded exactly like a person, like someone scratching my bed frame with their fingernails. I was paralyzed with fear, like during sleep paralysis. As beads of sweat rolled down my face, was someone hiding under my bed. It sounded like a dying person calling for help. My nerves were stretched to their limit, every pore in my body contracting in fear. I suddenly regained movement and knocked twice on my bedside table. The sound stopped, but after a moment, it started again. I quickly turned on the lights and frantically grabbed my flashlight, slowly crouching down. I pointed the flashlight under the bed. It turned out to be that orange cat. How did it get in? I quickly opened the door to let it out. I couldn't believe a mere orange cat had scared me so badly. I clearly remember locking the door before bed. Had I sleepwalked and let the cat in? I dared not think further. The more I thought, the more frightened I became. I quickly reported this to the seller, who demanded 4,000 yuan to handle the situation. 4,000? I went offline immediately without responding. I had no choice but to seek help from netizens on the forum. Most users thought I was just writing fiction and encouraged me to continue updating. A few said the spirit in the tablet had taken a grudge against me, suggesting chicken and duck blood offerings to ease the relationship. They said the only way to truly get rid of it was to help fulfill its unfinished wishes. One user warned that while getting these tablets was easy, getting rid of them was hard, and shared Thai stories. The spirits in these tablets carry heavy resentment. Some were aborted fetuses, others deformed babies killed by their parents, their ashes and souls trapped inside by merchants. The users' stories grew increasingly disturbing, frightening me from reading further. No wonder that stray cat kept coming to my house. It was being lured by the spirit wanting its blood. Since there was no immediate solution to get rid of it, I decided to try the blood offerings. The next day, I went straight to the market to get chicken blood for offerings. Finally, the thing calmed down, and my gambling returned to normal. These days, besides winning at gambling, I experienced inexplicable good fortune. An old friend, Lao Zhao, who had conflicts with me, suddenly came to reconcile our relationship, mysteriously returned to how it was before. It seemed too incredible. At work, my boss suddenly gave me a raise, moved me to the most comfortable position, and handed me a 3,000 yuan bonus. When I asked why, confused, the boss said I had appeared in his dream and helped him find an important contact, leading to a big business deal. I'm a living person. How could I appear in his dream? What nonsense. That day, the boss treated all employees to a celebration dinner, specifically crediting me for his good fortune. We had barbecue at a street stall, and I got quite drunk after the feast. The boss surprisingly asked Yang Yingying, our pretty and quiet receptionist, to take me home. Though Yingying was shy and tried to refuse, the boss practically pushed me into her arms, telling her to take good care of me. When I touched Yingying, my whole body felt electrified. Her body was so soft, like tofu. I felt completely mesmerized. It felt like falling in love, impossible to resist. Emboldened by alcohol, I couldn't help stealing glances at her. She wore a light brown floral dress that showed off her graceful figure, emanating a subtle fragrance. No man could resist such temptation, especially in my drunken state. And then, wow, that was that. The next morning, thinking about Yingying still made me feel elated. The next day at work, I was struck by news that nearly made me collapse. Did you hear? Lao Zhao was killed by a truck last night while drinking. Lao Zhao, the same colleague who had just reconciled with me. How could this suddenly happen? Co-workers suspected his death was connected to spirit tablets, saying he'd gotten one from Thailand for luck, only to meet this fate so quickly. Looking back, Lao Zhao had been unusually lucky lately, with women constantly pursuing him and sending him money, so he too had been using a spirit tablet. My heart pounded uncontrollably. A life just ended, and I was certain the spirit tablet was responsible. After work, I took my tablet to the riverside, sitting hesitantly under a jujube tree for a long time, finally deciding this thing was too evil to keep. I steeled myself and threw it into the river. After disposing of it, I felt more peaceful and went home to sleep. In my hazy dream, I found myself back at the riverside, at the exact spot where I'd thrown the tablet. Everything was pitch black, but that same jujube tree stood there. Suddenly, a head emerged from the river before I could make it out clearly. The figure was violently pulled underwater, creating a splash. Then a pair of hands surfaced, struggling desperately, clutching my discarded tablet. Shaoban, you dropped your spirit tablet. I'm returning it. It was Lao Zhao's voice. But wasn't he dead? I woke up covered in sweat. It was just a dream. Turning on my bedroom light, I saw my dressing table was wet, and there lay the tablet I'd thrown away. It had returned. How did it come back? How was this possible? I'd definitely thrown it in. Watched it sink. Why was I soaking wet? My clothes drenched in river water and mud. I must have gone into the water, but I don't even know how to swim. Did Lao Zhao bring back the tablet? How could a dead person return? He didn't even know where I lived. My head was about to explode. The entire ceiling seemed to spin. This thing was too supernatural, too damn evil. I felt eyes watching me in the room. It could take my life at any moment. Desperate, I contacted the seller, Chi. Again, after explaining everything, he demanded 4,000 yuan for handling it. No negotiation. I had no choice but to transfer the money, wrap it in red cloth, bury it somewhere isolated. That's all. Then what? I asked. That's it. This will end its attachment. He replied. His simple solution made me want to curse his ancestors and dig up their graves. Just these few words cost me 4,000. What an easy way to make money, with no other options. I considered the money spent as a way to ward off disaster. I quickly found red cloth in my drawer to wrap it. While wrapping, I noticed the child's eyes in the tablet move. I shuddered so hard I almost dropped it. Looking again, everything was still. I hastily wrapped it, securing it with several layers of tape. With a flashlight and shovel, I found an empty plot. My heart raced. It felt like disposing of a murder victim. The eerie silence was overwhelming. I kept feeling a ghost behind me, ready to take my life. Cold sweat covered me, my pores contracting in fear. Not daring to think further, I quickly dug a hole and buried it. I ran home in one breath, my body drenched in sweat. That night, I needed quite a bit of alcohol to fall asleep. The next morning, I was relieved to find the spirit tablet hadn't returned. However, in the following days, my luck turned sour and strange things began happening inexplicably. Both the boss fired me and Yang Yingying from the front desk. I learned from colleagues that the boss's nearly sealed deal had fallen through at the last moment, and he even lost money on 2 business dinners. My father fell at a construction site, breaking his leg. The medical bills were enormous, though thankfully nothing worse. My money mysteriously disappeared, making me incredibly anxious. These incidents, one after another, Couldn't be mere coincidence. I quickly contacted Archie again, asking what was happening. He dismissed it as minor accidents, saying my overthinking wasn't covered by his service. I had 1,000 curses ready for him. He drained me dry and abandoned me. Truly a scammer. With no options left, I consulted a feng shui master who drew me a red talisman. I couldn't sleep well at night, feeling deeply unsettled. Brother, I helped you. Why are you treating me like this? Suddenly, a little girl stood before me. Right where I'd buried the tablet, her face was blurry, indistinct. Brother, my mother abandoned me. Are you abandoning me too? I dared not speak, breaking into cold sweat, realizing this must be the girl from the tablet. Brother, mother said I was a beast's child. She abandoned me. I froze to death, was found and sealed in the tablet. I can't reincarnate. I'm just a wandering spirit. The little girl's emotions grew increasingly intense. She approached me step by step as I backed away slowly. She moved faster. When I saw her clearly, my heart nearly jumped out of my chest. She had 6 fingers. Her nose and mouth were crooked, her skin pockmarked as if bitten by insects. I'd never seen a child like this. She was terribly deformed, clearly a malformed child. I couldn't bear to look at her, slowly averting my eyes. Brother, do you also think I'm a beast's child who shouldn't have been born? The little girl suddenly began crying, utterly desperate. Little sister, don't be sad. Maybe your mother had her reasons. Terrified, I tried to comfort her, feeling trapped in a nightmare I couldn't wake from. Enough. Don't mention that woman. The girl suddenly became agitated, and I quickly agreed. I won't mention her. Brother, can you release me? It's so cold in there. I don't want to stay inside. Please, I beg you. I was truly haunted now. With no choice, I placated her. Brother will release you tomorrow. As soon as I said that, I woke up. This thing was terrifying. Truly terrifying. Unable to think of a solution, I quickly posted online again seeking help from netizens, but the responses were all over the place, with no reliable solutions in sight. The next day, I found a hotel to stay in, thinking perhaps a change of environment would help. After all, there were many people in the hotel. I believed that thing wouldn't dare to act up here. But when I was half asleep that night, it came to find me again. Big brother, I considered you my best friend. Why did you lie? Why did you treat me this way? Liars deserve to die. I will kill you, you liar. The little girl held a fruit knife in her hand, the same one I used to cut watermelon. She really wanted to kill me, and I couldn't move at all. Outside, the rain continued to fall, growing heavier. Suddenly, lightning flashed across the sky. The snow-white knife tip gleamed right before my eyes. I didn't lie. I didn't. Something came up today. I forgot. I'll go right now. That's when I woke up, and there wasn't even any rain outside. I was awakened by the pain in my fingertips. I had been biting my own finger, and I could still clearly taste the blood. Panicked, I quickly turned on the lights. My index finger was covered in blood, with deep teeth marks. If I had bit down any harder, I could have severed my finger. Wasn't I sleeping in a hotel? How did I end up back in my own home? This was too strange. I felt chilled to the bone, my whole body trembling. I couldn't stay calm anymore. After bandaging my finger with a band-aid, I rushed to where I had buried the tablet. I quickly dug it up and found some rocks to smash it. As I broke it, I felt a cold wind rush out from inside, shooting straight toward the back of my head. Terrified, I turned and ran straight home. Big brother, thank you. I will repay you properly. My forward steps were frozen in place by this sudden voice. My breathing was rapid, and my whole body went numb. I dare not turn around. Surely that thing behind me was a ghost. This wasn't a dream. This was a real scene, absolutely real. I was covered in sweat, unable to move, my legs frozen in place. This was bad. I heard of sleep paralysis, but what was this? I was panicking inside. Surely I wouldn't die here today. Just then, I felt something formless rush into my body. I could move again. I wanted to run, but why was I taking out my phone instead? I opened WeChat, found the work group that our boss hadn't kicked us out of yet, and searched through it to add Yang Yingying as a friend. But what was I doing? I hadn't meant to take out my phone, much less add Yang Yingying as a friend. The only thing I could understand was that I had been possessed by a ghost. My body was completely out of my control. Only my thoughts remained my own. After a while, Yang Yingying actually accepted she was still awake this late at night. My body, not under my control, quickly sent her a smiley face. Yang Yingying sent one back, and then my hands typed several words on the screen, repeatedly deleting them. Big brother, these words should come from you. I've never been in love. I can only help you this far. So she wanted to help me, not harm me. Actually, this little ghost wasn't so scary after all, and I let my guard down. Yang Ying, you can't sleep either. I typed a few words. Then this little one made me delete Yang and send it again. Ying replied yes, saying she had lost her job too. Her family wanted to arrange blind dates for her, and she was troubled and couldn't sleep. I comforted her, telling her not to worry, that things would get better gradually. At this point, my hand lost control again. Ying, can I be your boyfriend? We can look for jobs together. When this message was sent, I wanted to punch this little ghost. It was too direct. To be honest, I did really like Yang Ying, but confessing so quickly wasn't good at all. Let's start as ordinary friends first. I knew there was hope when she said this, although she didn't directly agree. At least Ying had given me a chance. I was overjoyed and quickly agreed. Then Ying told me it was late and to get some rest soon. I replied, good night, Mwah. Big brother, aren't living people all greedy? They fear responsibility, yet always want to possess things. The little girl's words stumped me. I didn't know how to answer her. I felt unqualified to answer her question, as I too had taken the shortcut of using the Buddhist tablet for luck. Big brother, can I tell you my story? I nodded, indicating she could continue. The little girl said her mother married a close relative for money, then gave birth to her. When they discovered she was deformed, her mother abandoned her. Big brother, are you afraid of me? It would be a lie to say I wasn't scared, but hearing her tone of voice, I wasn't as frightened anymore. I was scared at first, but not anymore. Little sister, don't be so sad. Suddenly, a figure appeared before me, the little girl from my dreams. 6 fingers, with a crooked nose and mouth. In the dim moonlight, she looked more pitiful than frightening. I felt indescribable emotions. Abandoned by her parents, then made into a Buddhist amulet by merchants to be sold, preventing her from reincarnating. Big brother, can you take me home? I want to kill my parents. They abandoned me. They deserve to die. Everything had been fine until the little girl suddenly said this. My heart raced. I didn't know how to respond. If I didn't help her, she'd kill me. If I helped her, she'd kill her parents. The little girl's resentment was intense. If I lied to her, I imagined I'd face an even worse death. Little sister, I can take you back. But please don't kill them. Brother knows you're hurt. How about this? When you reincarnate, you can be my child. I'll take good care of you. I actually didn't know if she could reincarnate, but I said it anyway, and she agreed. For now, I couldn't think of a better solution. I'd take her home first and figure things out as we went along. But I was hesitant about going to Thailand. I feared I might never return. If I didn't go, I was certainly dead. Honestly, I was extremely troubled, deeply regretting getting involved with this ghostly thing. There were so many things I hadn't done yet. I wanted to care for my parents, work hard for my dreams, and especially win Yang Ying's heart. The last thing I wanted was to die. That night, I struggled intensely with my thoughts, never having felt such unease and fear before. I drafted several messages, thinking of sending them to my parents, friends, and Yang Ying, but in the end, I didn't send any. Big brother, aren't you going to sleep? The thought came to me not as a voice. Could ghosts communicate like this? Wow. I suppose it didn't matter. These were my true thoughts anyway. Big brother, I don't want to go back anymore. Could you take me to the temple instead? The little girl suddenly began crying. How could I feel her tears? Sister, let me take you home. Brother will trust you one more time. I booked tickets to Thailand, not quite sure why I was doing this. Perhaps because she hadn't harmed me, and I pitied her, wanting her to return to her roots. I found a red cloth, wrapped her up again, and set out for Thailand. The little girl had told me her home address beforehand, but we arrived too late that night, so I stayed at a hotel. Just as I lay down after washing up, the thing started moving. I opened it, and the little girl came out. Big brother, I suddenly don't want to go home anymore. Take me to the temple instead. That can be my home too. After wanting to go home all this time, she suddenly changed her mind. I never expected this. Little sister, what's wrong? Didn't you want to go home? Big brother, I'm afraid to see my parents still living filthily in this world. I fear I will kill them, and you'll live with eternal guilt. The little girl cried, and I quickly moved to hug her, but I grabbed only air. I saw the little girl smile, a genuine smile from her heart. Sister, do you really not want to go back? Seeing her smile made me smile too, though mine was forced. tears hidden behind the smile, but they couldn't really be hidden. The little girl nodded, tried to hug me, and I opened my arms. The next day, I took her soul and the amulet, wrapped together, to the temple. The temple staff said they would burn it. When I asked why, they said burning would cleanse it, meaning the little girl would never be able to reincarnate. I quickly grabbed it back, while everyone looked at me like I was crazy. Finally, I found a nice spot under green trees. Sister, can I bury you here? The temple wanted to burn you. I hope you can reincarnate as my child in your next life. I'll take good care of you. I took out the red cloth and laid out the tablet. Thank you, big brother. Could you give me a name? If I become your child later, use this name, and I'll remember you. After thinking, I had it. Vang Nianing, meaning I hope to end up with Yang Yingying. That name is beautiful. Big brother. We'll meet again if fate allows. I don't want to get too emotional and make you cry again. Sister, until we meet again. When we do, you'll give me a knowing smile, and I'll recognize you. The little girl nodded, smiled, and cried again. I wrapped everything up, buried it, bowed 3 times, and left. My heart was heavy with an indescribable feeling. Through my own efforts, I found a better job and won over my goddess, Yang Yingying. Seeing my hard work pay off, though it was tough, felt satisfying. 2 years later, Yang Yingying and I had a child, a little girl. We named her Vang Nianing. When she was born, she smiled at me. I felt she was that little girl reborn, because the baby also had 6 fingers. That knowing smile was our previous promise.